I just want to preface by reminding everyone that it doesn't really actually go to space. And I just want to kind of make it clear that, for example, the International Space Station is not in space. It's in I don't know if you would call it low Earth orbit or high Earth orbit, but it's about 250 miles above the Earth. And so it doesn't even make it past the Van Allen belt. The Van Allen belt is between 400 to 6,000 miles above the Earth. So the space station is only about halfway to the Van Allen belt. And the space station wouldn't make it through the Van Allen belt. It would be destroyed. And the SpaceX Dragon X would also be destroyed. It wouldn't make it through the Van Allen belt. The space shuttles that went to the moon were made of special material, and it was a very special thing that they were able to make it through the Van Allen belt. In fact, there's a lot of controversy surrounding just how that occurred. And John Lear says that it's interesting because he says that we had help from ET on getting through the Van Allen belt. And they say now that all the information they had, this is what NASA says, that all the information they had as far as getting through the Van Allen belt has been lost. So now, in other words, they don't even know how to get through the Van Allen belt, which is further interesting because there's this new plan, Artemis, which is a plan to go back to the moon by 2024. So in less than 4 years, there's this plan to go back to the moon and to deliver the first female to the moon. So they would have to figure out how to get through the Van Allen belt. Maybe they found the data. I haven't looked into that too much, but just a little bit of information about the SpaceX Dragon. It is interesting, even though it doesn't actually go to space. Like I said, it doesn't go beyond 250 miles, which is the distance of the space station. And what it does is it delivers, historically, the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft has delivered supplies to the International Space Station. So, it 7 people can go in the SpaceX Dragon X, and it's interesting because the mission that we're getting ready to talk about now, that got postponed until tomorrow or Saturday. I'm not sure when I'm going to get this video out, if I'm going to get it out tonight or in the morning. So that mission is the first time that they're going to deliver humans to the space station. In other words, there's 2 astronauts, and I'm going to read the article to you guys here. But previously, all the SpaceX Dragon X did was deliver supplies to the space station. So I think that's interesting. So this is a historical event. And it says here, the beginning of NASA's next chapter of space exploration will have to wait until the weekend. Space officials Wednesday postponed the launch of a crewed SpaceX rocket en route to the International Space Station because of weather around Kennedy Space Center in Merritt Island, Florida, and Tropical Storm Bertha. The information continues with lightning seen in the area 17 minutes before the scheduled flight or liftoff. The officials scrubbed the flight. The SpaceX Dragon X's crew, known as Demo 2, operated under an instantaneous launch window, or a narrow period during which the International Space Station is lined up with the rocket's flight trajectory. Any sort of delay would cause the rocket to miss that period. And then it says the next window is scheduled for Saturday at 3:22 p.m. from historic launch pad 39A, which is the same facility that launched the first astronauts to the moon aboard Apollo 11 in 1969. So that's kind of interesting. The flight would have culminated years of work and the fulfillment of a risky bet by NASA under the Obama administration to entrust the private sector to fly astronauts. And as I was mentioning before, previously, the only thing that the SpaceX Dragon did was deliver supplies. So this is the first time that it was supposed to be actually delivering astronauts to the space station. The information continues for SpaceX. It was the crescendo of an improbable odyssey that began in 2002 when founder and chief executive Elon Musk set out to start a space company. And astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley are both former military pilots who previously had each flown 2 missions on the space shuttle. Once the spacecraft is launched, it is scheduled to travel to space station, which is 240 miles above the Earth, and the journey is expected to take about 18 hours. And here's a very troubling story to cover on the one hand, because it's just it reflects horrible atrocities that took place. On the other hand, it needs to be mentioned, it needs to be covered. More news companies should be talking about this, and these people need to be held accountable. Planned Parenthood admits under oath to trafficking baby body parts and organs, and officials admitted under oath to killing babies and selling their body parts. Hopefully they will be facing the consequences. The information says multiple Planned Parenthood officials have admitted under oath to trafficking the body parts and organs of babies they slaughtered. And it looks like there is information on the Justice Department website possibly about this. And it's something that the Justice Department, I believe, is handling. I certainly hope so, but that's the way the information that's being presented to me appears. And the only other thing that it mentions is a new Center for Medical Progress video shows the under oath testimony of multiple Planned Parenthood officials admitting to selling body parts. And then the link for that is liveaction.org, and it looks like might be a Twitter link as well. So that's the information for that. A new Center for Disease report shows much lower death rate than we have been misled into believing, which justifies these conspiracy theories of a PSYOP. The information is the CDC released a report based on statistics through April 29th showing a much lower death rate. Overall, 0.4%, 0.26%, including asymptomatic cases, 1 in 6,725 confirmed cases, including asymptomatic cases, 6 in 1 million of those under the age of 65. Wow. Of course, the numbers would be much lower if not for the terrible nursing home situations, and probably are much lower because many more people have surely had it and not been tested or confirmed. Of course, this is nowhere to be found in mainstream media or social networks, which is odd because they're supposed to believe the science of the CDC, trying to follow the information here. But we're covering it, so I'm mentioning it, and I certainly found it interesting. Trump threatens to take action against Twitter after political bias was exposed. And there's a link here, Zero Hedge link, with more information, I when I tried to click it, the page crashed. So the link is corrupted somehow, so I'm not going to be able to go to that. But there is a little bit of information here. Republicans feel that social media platforms totally silence conservative voices. Um, it says we will strongly regulate or close them down before we can ever allow this to happen. We saw what they attempted to do and failed to do in 2016. We can't let a more sophisticated version of that happen again, just like we can't let large-scale mail-in ballots take root in our country. It would be a free-for-all on cheating, forgery, and the theft of ballots. Whoever cheated the most would win. Likewise, social media. Clean up your act now. And it looks like they're saying that that was a tweet by Trump. And before I continue with this information about Twitter and what's going on with Trump, I do like that Trump's talking about the potential of corruption or cheating with mail-in ballots. So it's good that he's on top of that, and seems like he doesn't want to allow that to happen. I've always liked Trump. I supported him becoming president. My problem is that he is blaming all of the COVID-19 stuff on China and is saying that Dr. Fauci is a very good person. He said that just a week ago or so in an interview, and we've got all kinds of evidence and information that there was U.S. involvement in funding and engineering a COVID-19 bioweapon, and Dr. Fauci's name is written all over it. So that is troubling, that Trump is saying that Dr. Fauci is a very good person and he's not holding people in the U.S. who were involved accountable. Makes me question whether he's fit to continue. However, that's the only thing that I've seen wrong. A lot of the stuff he says seems good, but saying something is in it could be an act. You know, I look at what people do, and he's talked a lot about draining the swamp, but all we've seen is we haven't seen much, in my opinion, of actually draining the swamp. It's been a lot of talk, and I don't want to get off track or get into that too much. But there's been a FEMA gun control scam that has been going on. Most of the high-profile, controversial shootings have been in a FEMA gun control scams where they it's planned and it's for gun control, and I've demonstrated that in some videos, and I don't want to get into that right now, but Trump has turned a blind eye on that, and he seems to have turned his back on the Second Amendment. And when he was running for president, he was talking about defending the Second Amendment, and he had actually an endorsement from the NRA. And we've seen gun control legislation, unconstitutional legislation, pushed while he's been president. So the point I want to make, and then I want to move on because this is not something I wanted to talk about tonight. But the point I just want to make is that Trump has said a lot and he's done very little. Everything he says sounds really good, and I support him because I'm American and he's my president, but he's not, in my opinion, he hasn't done enough to actually take action on a lot of the stuff that he's talking about. And the Michael Flynn unmasking is an inner government conflict. So even if the people involved in that are held accountable, that's an inner government conflict. It seems like when injustices are committed against the American people, though, the average citizen, he turns his back. And that's just the point that I want to make. So hopefully he'll keep his promises and maybe earn back my confidence, but it's beginning to dwindle with him, and I'm questioning more and more whether he's fit to lead. But certainly he's talking about corruption with mail-in ballots, and he doesn't want to allow that. Well, that's good, but that's just talk. Here it says Twitter has dinged some of Trump's tweets. So in other words, it sounds like they're saying Twitter has moderated some of Trump's tweets. Twitter is officially a Democrat mouthpiece, is what the article is claiming. Twitter has bowed to the pressure and moderated some Trump tweets. They inserted fact-checking, calling on some disinfo, even though Trump was opinionating. Twitter has been bought off in the 2020 election. This is what somebody, the way they feel based on this alleged moderation that happened recently against Trump. And that's kind of the gist of it. I don't want to get into this too much. I've got a lot to cover tonight, and I want to try to get through it quickly. You guys can look into more of these stories yourselves if you want to. I could probably spend an entire episode on just each story, but that's not really the point. The point is to present a lot of stuff, and so it's interesting because they're talking about Twitter and Twitter, as well as Reddit, supposedly after the Mage Brazil UFO sightings, moderated a whole bunch of posts and videos that people put on Twitter and Reddit. About showing, you know, the Mage UFOs or talking about it. So that was interesting. It was heavily moderated. That's what people are reporting. And that, if anything, all that does is fuel the conspiracy theories, and of course it makes it look like a cover-up, a major cover-up. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And speaking of Reddit, there is one. Actually, maybe we'll get into that next. We'll get into this this article on Reddit, or a post, and I'll show that to you guys now. Okay, so the post underneath it had coordinates for this location. I was unable to find this location previously, and but then I did get the coordinates. So once I got the coordinates, I found this location. And if you swing the camera around, you can actually see the shape of this thing. And it's shaped just like a UFO. Now, Google has actually come out and made a statement, a representative from Google, saying that all this is there's some sort of phenomena that occurs. It's a technical thing. I think they call it like blooming or blossoming or something like that, and or extreme saturation. I'm not sure because I'm not a expert in videos or pictures. But supposedly what happens is a something extremely bright can temporarily blind a spot from the Google Earth satellite, is my understanding. So they're saying that's what happened here. Now this just so happens to be close to the Imbel, IMBEL Ordnance Company, where all those explosions took place, related to the Mage UFO sightings. And you know, it's interesting because I just want to show you guys real quick. So I'm kind of looking at it from kind of a weird angle, but this is the IMBEL Ordnance Company here, and here, let me just zoom in for you guys. There's like a monument thing that shows up on the video right here, and then there's a like a gate here, and then this is the area where there was a lot of smoke. But in the video, there's another video that somebody posted, and they're riding a scooter to the area, and there's actually two parts to the video. There's a part one that's only a few minutes long, and then there's a part two that she stays there for like an hour and talks to people, but it's in Portuguese. So, but I did watch the videos, and on the way, as she's riding the scooter, and I showed some a clip from that in my last video, but on the way you can hear explosions and stuff. But the interesting thing in that video is not only does it show the smoke here, and then there's another video where a gentleman was just he pulled right up and he was just sitting in his car right near the gate, and you can really hear loud explosions and smoke here. And then for some reason he cuts the video short. His video is real short. I don't know why. But the point I want to get to real quick is I don't want to zoom out too far. Not only in those videos do we see smoke in this area and we hear the explosions in this area, but we see a lot of smoke and explosions, and I mean a lot, somewhere in up here, considerably further away, but not too far away, in the mountains. And I'm not sure if there's a river or if those are roads, but I just wanted to say that in the IMBEL Ordnance video footage, it's not just in this area that we see all the smoke and hear the explosions. If you look, it's also, you know, further away up in the mountains. And I just wanted to say that it's because this location, look how close this is. This is pretty close. So I just found it interesting, and I really needed to talk about this because this has been dismissed. Google came out, like I said, and a representative from Google. I'm all Google. I have everything as Google. My emails, my you know, I'm a big time YouTuber. I don't use any other platform, just YouTube, and I love YouTube. And but they came out and said that this is a you know, just a reflection. Well, that doesn't mean that it wasn't a UFO. First of all, it takes something extremely shiny and bright for this to occur and to blind the Google satellite. They say it's normal, but it's not really normal. It happens, but it doesn't happen normally. You know, we don't see this anywhere else right now. You know, and you could say, yeah, it's normal when there's a UFO that the Google satellite, the Google Earth satellite sees a UFO, and yeah, it's normal because it's so shiny. It's much brighter and shinier than anything normal. So, you know, the way they word it, it could be misleading, and then supposedly there was somebody that went out here and they saw a metal roof. Well, that's fine, but the metal roof isn't shaped like this. It's not shaped like a UFO. So for them to say, oh, well, I went out there and there was a metal roof there, so it was just a reflection on the Google satellite. Nah, that doesn't work for me. That's not going to satisfy me as far as explaining it away. Because a roof, you know, a metal roof wouldn't give the shape of a UFO. And the other thing I want to say is there's one more thing that they're saying that they're using to dismiss this, and they're saying, oh, well, it's an old image, you know, it's an old this right here, when it blinded the Google satellite, they're saying it's old. Well, they don't have any evidence that it's old. They haven't proven that it's old. And even if it is old, I still say that it's an old UFO. I mean, you can't get around it that that's shaped like a UFO. It's not shaped like a roof. So, and what they could have done was they could have, you know, the government could have, I mean, the US government does stuff like this, the military and stuff, they do stuff like this all the time just to cover stuff up. Is they'll come and they'll pay and have a building put there, or have a roof put, that, you know, a new roof put on, and they'll pay for it for you, and they'll make it metal just so that they can say, oh, it was a metal roof, just as part of the cover up. But even if let's just say that they didn't do that and there already was a metal roof there. First of all, I don't think that the metal roof would have reflected enough light and been bright enough to blind the Google satellite. That's a question also, whether a metal roof could be bright enough to reflect light that's bright enough to blind the satellite. It's usually not a very shiny. I've seen metal roofs before, and they're not real shiny. It's more of a dull metal. But even if it was bright enough to blind the Google satellite, it wouldn't be shaped like this. And my other point is, even if this is old, and there's no evidence, they haven't proven that this is old. They've just said that it's old, and that could be part of the cover-up. But even if it is old, there's no, then that just tells me that this is an old UFO. But there's no way of getting around that as being a UFO because of the shape. And not only that, but if you think about it, so not only is it shaped like a UFO, but UFOs are known to be extremely bright. And it takes something that's abnormally bright, extremely bright, to blind the Google satellite. Usually things don't blind the Google satellite. So, and I found it interesting also because I'm just wondering if this area could be where all that other smoke was coming from. Because I was just talking a moment ago about how okay, yeah, here's the property. This is the Imbel property. And I was talking about how we saw the smoke here, but then I was saying how it looked like, if you look in the video, it looks like there's also smoke coming from, you know, somewhere higher up in the mountains. And it's a thick, huge, thick cloud. You know, it looks like it's a mile long or so. I mean, really a tremendous amount of smoke. And you have to wonder if it came from something here, and maybe the wind blew the smoke. All right, and speaking of the Mage Brazil UFO information and stuff that we've been going over, and just to kind of recap, so earlier this month, around May 13th and the 14th, and not only that, but in the days prior to that, there was a lot of UFO sightings around the area of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil and Mage, Brazil. And we're going to talk a little bit again about this this video that everyone is saying that it's a metal bull and that it's fake. And I've been talking about it a lot. I'm going to show it on screen again. And there's a blue in the background. It looks like there's a hill in the foreground, and it's only a 14-second video. But the reason why I'm talking about it again is because right after I uploaded my last video, and we were actually comparing it to a dog bull, or to a metal bull, and we were talking about it, and but I said I was on the fence. You know, I'm not convinced that it's real or fake. And I'm telling people that they should stay open-minded. And as soon as I uploaded that video, Davies Balthazar, his channel is Davies Terra Plana. He uploaded a video. The name of the video is Noise. Well, I'm translating the name. It's in Portuguese, but I'm going to translate it. And it translates to Noise in the Madrugada sky UFO today, and it was posted on May 27th, 2020. And I'm going to show you a little bit of footage from that video. If you guys want to watch this video, there's going to be a link for it in the description. But again, it's in Portuguese. But I'm going to show you just a short little piece of the video where he has a UFO or UFO footage, and it looks exactly like the downed UFO that we've been talking about, that people are saying is a bowl, a metal bowl. And this UFO in this video, if you look at it closely, you can tell that if it's turned a certain way, the top of it looks like a metal bowl. It looks like the same UFO. That video was it looks like that he got it from Twitter, and I can't find it, so I just looked at it on Davy's channel. Again, I'll leave a link in the description for it. You know, I did hear a gentleman talking about it in English, and he was saying how there was supposedly a UFO that was a hoax, and it was a speaker. And he was saying how this UFO that we're looking at here is completely different, and it looks like a real UFO and not a hoax. And that was just one person's opinion, and certainly it doesn't look like a speaker to me. I've seen plenty of speakers, and if that's a speaker, I'd like somebody to show me a speaker that looks like that. But next we're going to look at this UFO that you'll see on the screen now, and it's from Mage. I hope I pronounced that correct. Mage, or in English it looks like it says Minasgerais, is a location in Brazil, and we'll look at the location on Google Earth after this video. But this is what you'll see here, and it's from May 22nd, 2020. That UFO was seen in the skies above Minas Gerais, and here you can see Minas Gerais on Google Earth. And next we're going to, and of course that's in Brazil, further north than Rio de Janeiro, pretty close to the center of Brazil, Minas Gerais. But it's just interesting because the UFO sightings continue in Brazil, even still. And the next location, and I'm going to show some footage of a UFO that was seen in Eagle Pass, Texas. And we'll talk a little bit about UFOs sightings in the United States next, as you can see there. I'll zoom out. So that's Eagle Pass in Texas. That's in the United States. And there was other sightings as well. A UFO, or bright orb, filmed in 2019 in Ohio, was recently uploaded to the MUFON website this month. And also this month there were UFO sightings in Long Beach, California, and Denver, Colorado. And last month there were UFO sightings in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and back in January there were sightings in Bossier City, Louisiana, just to name a few. There have actually been many sightings on a lot of different dates in a lot of different locations all over the world. But before I leave you guys with that video that we're going to look at the UFO in Eagle Pass, Texas, I just wanted to show one more. It almost slipped my mind, but we just looked at that video in Mage in Brazil, UFO video that took place on May 22nd of this year. And there was another UFO that's a pretty interesting video that somebody uploaded from May 22nd, same date, 2020. It says that it's in Madrugada, but there's no such thing as Madrugada. There's some things that are named Madrugada, like I think there's like a road or a street in Mexico that's Madrugada. There's like a trail in California or something like that, or a street that's Madrugada. And then I think there's like a church in Brazil called Madrugada, but the guy's not specific, whoever this person is that uploaded this video, and they're saying Madrugada. I don't know what they're talking about, but still, it's the same date as the one in Minas Gerais. I can't pronounce it. The one that we just saw, May 22nd, and it looks really interesting.